It's time for Law in Our Life, and we have our new guest for this series, and Hyunju, here in the studio with us. Hello, Hyunju.
Hi.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
I interviewed you last year, I think, right?
Yes.
And that was as a guest for Gwangju people, but we really liked what you had to say. And I think that what you know has a lot of value for the listeners on our show. So we have you now here as a weekly guest for this new series, Law in Our Life. And introduce yourself, please, to our listeners.
Hello, GFN listeners. I'm Hyunjuan, a lawyer practicing in Gwangju.
Mm-hmm.
It's my honor to be the guest in the show.
All right. Well, why don't you tell them about why we chose you? What gives you such a good fit for our show?
I think I'm a lawyer working with expats and Korean clients in Gwangju.
Mm-hmm.
Before I started my solo practice, I lived in the States for 9 years with my family. I went back to law school in the US and became the Connecticut licensed lawyer. So now I have two law licenses from Korea and Connecticut. Being foreign is very close to my heart as I lived as an immigrant for a certain time.
Ah.
So I wanted to have community service in my business. So now I upload Korean Law 101 videos on my YouTube channel to provide legal information to foreigners in Korea.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find me on YouTube channel by searching my name, Hyunjuan, or Korean Law 101.
All right. And I understand how your perspective, having lived as an immigrant, could help you understand immigrants' struggles with law.
Sure.
I know that as a foreigner, when I came to Korea for the first time, the law was different, and it took some understanding for me. I had to ask some people, try and develop an understanding of it, and there wasn't a lot of information available. And so it's a valuable service that you're doing for us. I appreciate it. Now, what would you like to talk about today?
For today's topic, I chose the unpaid leave amid coronavirus spread.
Wow, very topical. I have seen stories from all kinds of teachers, hagwons and public schools. People are worried. Some people aren't getting paid. Some people are, being told they do have to come, but aren't doing any work. Some people are having their hours or pay cut. What can you tell us about the situation?
So let's say that you work at the company, and after the outbreak of COVID-19, the business gone dramatically down.
Mm-hmm.
So now the employer asks you to take an unpaid leave for a while.
Uh-huh.
You may wonder whether it's legal or whether you should accept such request.
Well, sure. If I'm told by my boss I have to stop working and stop getting income, that's quite a worry, especially if I'm a foreign worker in a
Yeah.
country. It's not easy to get a different job.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it's illegal. So, what can you tell us about this?
So some of you may have heard about the news that employees have been asked to take unpaid leave as the business has been reduced due to concerns over the spread of the COVID-19. So the question is whether it's legal to force the employees to take the unpaid leave of absence due to the slow business or suspension of service.
Mm-hmm.
My answer is no.
Okay.
Yeah, it is not allowed.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. They still have to pay you.
Yeah.
All
But
right.
not the regular pay that you got.
Okay. Explain it to us.
So, according to Labor Standards Act, Article 46, it provides that when a business shuts down due to a cause attributable to the employer, he or she shall pay the employees concerned allowances of not less than 70% of their average wages during the periods of shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
So the experts construed that the shutdown attributable to the employers are not only the situations caused by the employer's intention negligence, but also the business judgment decisions.
Uh-huh.
So the shutdown decision caused by the coronavirus outbreak, it is also a cause attributable to the employer.
Mm.
Therefore, if your company asks you to apply for an unpaid voluntary leave of absence, you are entitled to the 70% of your average wages.
All right. So this is making more sense to me why the government hasn't told hagwons they must shut down,
Mm-hmm.
but instead has told them that they should.
Yes, it's more like a recommendation.
Right.
It's the business owner's own decision.
Mm-hmm. even if the government asks them to.
Yeah.
But what if the government said instead that they must?
So how if the business is closed by the government decision after confirming the coronavirus's patient's presence in the business site, such shutdown cannot be attributed to the employer.
Oh no.
Because the shutdown is mandatory in accordance to the government.
Right.
Therefore, in this situation, the employer is not responsible for the wage during the shutdown.
Okay, so if your school is closing voluntarily because business is slow or because they think they should because of bad publicity if they stay open, they have to pay you 70% of your normal wage. If the government orders it because of a blanket order or because you've had a case of COVID-19 at your workplace, no pay.
No.
All right, those are pretty different situations, but hopefully that will answer some questions. Now, are there other issues that we should be concerned about?
So in case the employer argues that as you signed the application for unpaid leave, he's free of responsibility.
Oh.
But that's not always true.
Mm-hmm.
To validate the unpaid leave, the approval of Labor Commission is required. And if the unpaid leave is decided without the approval of Labor Commission, it's illegal.
Oh.
So the same rule applies even when you individually made an agreement with your employer regarding the unpaid leave of absence.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if you have already signed something, you may want to withdraw your intention of unpaid leave of absence and explicitly tell the employer that you will continue working because you kind of like misunderstood.
Right.
So you may need to collect evidence to prove the existence of agreement and how both agreed to draft such agreement.
All right. I heard from somebody who works at a Hagwon that their boss said, we're going to be closing, and so we're not going to pay you. And then she said, well, no, you still have to keep paying me. And then they said, all right, well, then we'll stay open and you can come in. So they were prepared to change their mind when they realized it was going to cost them money. But there are a lot of people being affected by this.
Sure.
It's not the first time we've heard of Hagwons skating around the law and taking advantage of foreign teachers. So how can an educator get help if this is happening to them?
So what are the remedies available? You can file a petition to the local labor office to order the employer to pay the shutdown allowance, which is 70% of the average wage, and file a remedy petition to the Labor Relations Commissions for the illegal unpaid leave.
All right. Are there other issues? What if they say, we want you to take your vacation now, and so we don't have to pay you?
Yeah, that's another trick. It's also against the law to order you to take annual paid leave the time they want you to have.
Right. So yeah, it would still be paid, but it's just you're not working and you're using up your vacation time, right? Okay.
But in principle, under the Labor Standards Act, the employer shall allow the employees to take the annual paid leave when the employee wants to have. So it is your right and your decision to make when to take a vacation. However, there is an exception in the event that granting the employee such a paid leave at the time when such employee wants to take the paid leave greatly impedes the business operation. The employer may change the time of the paid leave.
Okay, so I can't take my vacation anytime.
In principle, you can take whenever you want, but if you are like trying to take a long vacation when the business is very extremely busy or like
test season or something, then they can reschedule.
Then the employer may want you to take another time off. But usually you can take your time off whenever you want.
Really? All right. Well, that's very different. My first Hagwon I ever worked at, they said this is your vacation time, this 2 weeks of the year. And I think maybe they shut down then, maybe everybody left then. So in that case, I guess that's fair, right? If that's the normal time they shut down.
But more like if it's a high season, like summer vacation, like special program for kids, and then you just want to take the vacation at that point, it might not be acceptable from the point of the employer's perspective. But if it's just regular season, you can take your vacation whenever you want. All
right. I've got time for one more question here. Now, I don't know if you're going to know the answer to this. This is tricky. what if I
Mhm.
go on my vacation,
Yeah.
but while I'm gone, all this COVID stuff happens.
Uh-huh.
So I get back
Uh-huh.
and I'm told I can't go to work. I have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
Okay.
Do they have to pay me?
I think I need to check that part.
All right, fair enough. I understand. This is changing, the situation for everyone, and the law is complicated.
Yeah, and especially the situation now we're facing is very like rare, something that never happened before.
Right,
So
uncharted
all,
territory.
yeah, so all even Koreans are struggling to interpret the laws and what they and getting to know what they should do.
All right. Well, Hyunju, thank you so much for helping us today.
You're welcome.
See you next week.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Great.
Yep. Let me just check